and I get to like Suvarnabhumi airport and I hear the audio in Thai and I'm like, yeah, this is hectic. Probably the most crazy place I've ever been to, which is not something I would recommend to tourists, was...
One question that comes up or I get sometimes is like, do you think that speaking Thai helps with dating life in Thailand?
Yeah, people want to hear the juicy stuff here.
What is up, guys, and welcome back to the One Night in Bangkok podcast. If you guys are new here, my name is Eric. I come all the way from Boston, USA. I've been living here in Thailand for 5 years now, and this podcast is all about bringing you the most interesting people that I come across here in Bangkok. If you are coming to Bangkok soon, if you're living here, if you're moving here, hit the subscribe button. There are so many people coming on the show that I know you're gonna want to check out, especially the next few guests. Do yourself a favor and hit the subscribe button right now. And if you want to see short clips from the show throughout the week, if you don't have time for like a full 1 hour episode, you just want to see like a short 5-minute video or something like that, we have a new clips channel. I'll put the link for that down below. And lastly, if you like what we're doing, if you want to support the channel, you can buy us a drink at the link below. That helps us keep this ship going, and I don't know, we'll have a good time doing it.
Yes.
Tonight, I have a very interesting guy I've seen on YouTube for quite some time now. Paddy from Thai Talk with Paddy, the YouTube channel, is back in Bangkok.
Yes, I am. Good to be here, Eric. This studio is amazing, and that introduction was very clean.
Thank you. We were just talking about how I'm like always nervous I'm going to mess this up.
No, you killed it.
So we were talking in the elevator on the way up. I met you for about 10 seconds.
Yeah.
But it was at a meetup event about 2 years ago.
About 2 years ago.
And I can't believe it's been that long.
It's crazy, hey. And it's kind of weird to think that we only met for 10 seconds, to be honest. That's the nature of those meetup events when you host something like that and you have... there's a few hundred people there that night or whatever, and you're trying to speak to as many people as possible and give as many people an ear as possible, but it's just kind of hard. But yeah, it was awesome, man. It's great to be here.
Yeah. So what's interesting about you compared to a lot of Thailand YouTubers is you don't live in Thailand. You live in Australia.
Yeah, it's bizarre. Hey, like when you look at the channel, it would almost seem like I live in Thailand, but my base realistically is Sydney, but I do spend a fair bit of time here in Bangkok and other parts of Thailand as well.
Yeah. Were you here like 6 months ago?
Yes, I was here about 6 months ago, yeah, and I was here for about a month and a half, 2 months, so I stayed for quite a long period, and for this time I'm here for about 3 weeks, but actually I'm on the way to Europe. I'm traveling through Thailand, and I'm going to travel on the way to Europe after this, so
okay, cool.
I'm just having a bit of a gap year, I guess, this year.
Cool. And the flight from Sydney, how long is it?
10 hours. Yeah.
Okay. Oh,
so
that's longer than I thought.
Well, but for Australians, that's actually super short. Like going to Asia from Australia is like considered a really, really short flight because Europe's 24 hours and America's 17 or 18 hours.
It's kind of the same thing with the US. A lot of people in the US don't travel internationally that much.
Yeah.
Because you pretty much have to cross an ocean no matter which way you go.
Yeah, but that's not the same with Australians because a lot of Australians travel international. They're just happy to do the 10-hour flight.
Okay. Oh, and by the way, before we go any further, we have Ern back again. Everyone's favorite
it's me again.
resident Thai. Telling Paddy, I thought it would be fair to have at least one other person that could speak Thai well.
For sure.
So,
that's great.
Yeah.
No, I'm pleasantly surprised. I actually didn't know it was coming
Thai.
ได้ก็เปลี่ยนได้สลับเป็นภาษาไทยกับภาษาอังกฤษเนาะ
ได้ค่ะพูดภาษาไทย
So for people that don't know, maybe they figured it out already. One of the things that you're known for, your channel is known for, is you speak, would you say fluent Thai?
No.
But you speak Thai extremely well, especially for a white guy.
Yeah.
Like
I guess
I could see maybe if you're like I don't know, Asian, maybe it would be easier to speak Thai.
Yeah.
But as a native English speaker, can be quite a challenge.
Yeah, it's a weird one. Hey, I guess the reputation my channel has become known for is because I'm a white guy who speaks Thai. But the reality is there are so many foreigners who live here from white backgrounds, from Asian backgrounds, from so many different backgrounds that speak way better Thai than me. And they just don't put themselves on the internet, so you just never see them and you never meet them. But there are people that I've met who have lived here for 20 years, 25 years, and their level of Thai is close to native level, but you just never know about it. But I'm happy. I'm glad I have a channel where the language, the culture is a center point of the channel, and people and the audience like that for that reason. I think it gives it a different flavor than a lot of channels in Thailand, and Thailand's a special place for me because of that reason.
Yeah, it's definitely a unique thing. What I was curious about, and I was talking to Ern about this, is your audience mostly Thai people or mostly foreigners or both?
It's a real mix. I think it started more with predominantly Thai people, but these days it would actually probably be more foreign. So I think overall the Thai audience would probably be 30%, and the foreign audience would now be about 70%, I would say. And the main countries of that foreign audience would be Australia, America, Singapore, Malaysia, Philippines, UK.
Okay.
And then who knows
Maybe
what the rest
because
of
he's mostly into Thai people, and then like foreigner wanna like see like about the view or the thoughts of Thai people. That's why.
Yeah. There's definitely that. But
You do a lot of street interviews.
I do a lot of street interviews. Yeah.
Like you did one where you were asking Thai people in Australia. I think you were asking them like, why is there so much cheating in Thailand?
Yeah, I've done that. I don't like shy away from more difficult and more sensitive topics, that's for sure.
It's cool to ask Thai people these questions in Thai and hear their responses in Thai, because sometimes I feel like maybe there's a nuance that's lost when people like Thai people speak in English.
I think they open up a lot more as soon as we start speaking and it's in Thai. They feel a lot more comfortable than perhaps speaking in English, and you get the subtleties and you get an energy. And as soon as you start getting into the conversation, it almost feels like the camera's not on them and they just open up and you're just jumping and bouncing off each other, which is really interesting. And it's really nice, to be honest. I think you see a side to Thai people in those interviews that you would never otherwise get. So I love being able to show that.
So what I want to know, because I really don't know this answer, is why in the world does a guy from Sydney, Australia know how to speak Thai so well?
Yeah, it's a weird one. After school, between high school and university, there's a pretty typical thing for a lot of Australians to do, and a lot of Europeans and Americans, I think, is to do a gap year and travel abroad. And I had the opportunity to live in Thailand as an English teacher for about 9 to 10 months. And I lived in an area outside of Chiang Mai, a little village called Hoi Tong in 2 hours west of Chiang Mai. And it's actually home to the Karen people, which is an ethnic diaspora, an ethnic minority group. And when I was there, I was put in a position where no one really in the village could speak English. And if I didn't learn to speak Thai, then I wouldn't have any friends and I'd feel completely isolated and completely lonely. So I made it my mission that year to become as fluent as possible in Thai so I could become a part of the community, adapt to the culture, understand the place properly, and have friends. And I to be honest, back then there was no internet signal in the village. iPhones and smartphones were hardly a thing. So I remember I would call my parents once a month or maybe once every 2 months, and I had all this time and I used that time for good, and I just went hard into the study and hard into the books and in the end got to the end of the 9 or 10 months after a full immersion experience and felt pretty comfortable communicating in Thai, getting around, could read and write, and from there I grew to love the country and I grew to love the place.
What was your level of understanding before you started that?
Zero. Literally could not say Sawadee Cup. But then, when I landed in Chiang Mai airport, I had no idea how to say Sawadee Cup.
Wow.
Yeah. None.
At the end of the 9 months, obviously I'm sure you kept learning after that, right? So
I'm still learning. To be honest, I would not even call myself close to fluent. I really want to get better and better and better. But maybe 50%, 60%.
Yeah. But at the end of that 9 months, did you have any problem communicating or having a conversation with somebody?
Not anything that wouldn't be more academic or a little bit more complex, to be honest. Anything getting around, exploring, more than a conversational level. But
what about reading and writing?
Reading and writing, by the end of the 9 months, I could read and write decently well.
Wow.
But you learn all by yourself or with the Thai teacher?
I didn't study in any classes or anything. I just studied with friends in the village and had some really close friends who helped me out a lot. And I just was really obsessed when I was there. I just wanted to learn to, every night I would go back to my room and I'd open up the Thai dictionary and open up my phrase book and learn for 2 hours, just study for 2 hours by myself. I'd go out to clubs and stuff in Chiang Mai and I'd bring a dictionary and a phrase book and I'd be writing stuff down. I just became fully obsessed with wanting to learn the Thai language. And beforehand, I'd never been interested in languages at all, but I saw this ability to be able to, like what we were talking about with the interviews, people would be more raw with me, people would treat me differently, they'd have a different approach to conversation with me, and I got to have these insights into Thailand that you never would otherwise have. It's like having it, it's unlocking a new world. And I put every ounce of effort into to trying to learn Thai that year. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember my first trip to Thailand.
Mm.
I remember landing at the airport at Suvarnabhumi.
Yeah.
And we're walking through the terminal and I'm seeing the signs in Thai. And, you know, as a closeted American, I'm not used to this.
Yeah.
Normally, everything is just English or maybe English and Spanish. And I was thinking, how can anybody learn this language that wasn't born here?
Yeah.
I would feel that it would be so hard.
Yeah, it's weird. And I sometimes feel like I've become this like the token guy who just has been able to learn and speak Thai and whatnot. But honestly, it's not as rare as you think. Obviously, the majority of expats who come here, they come and move to Bangkok, which is a fairly cosmopolitan city. So straight away they're here. And a lot of people like Ern, for example, speak really good English, so they don't feel like it's necessary. But I was just lucky that I was put in a situation where I had no real choice. And yeah, and my position was, if I'm here, I want to adapt to this place, become a part of this community, and try as much as possible to be seen as not so different to them. But obviously, you're never going to be able to achieve that fully when you look like this in a.
Did you know or learn any other languages?
Never
here?
At school.
Because
Never.
I took Spanish in high school, and Spanish was like the easiest language to learn after English, and I did awful.
Yeah, right.
So, and what was funny though is during COVID, I was living here, but I went back to the US during COVID, and I got stuck. And you know, being stuck during COVID time was not a fun. It was a really rough time.
Yeah.
And that's actually when I discovered your channel.
Right.
And I discovered you and what's the guy in New York City that speaks Chinese?
Xiaoma.
Xiaoma. And I thought, like, if these guys can do it, I can do it. Even if I could do it 5%.
Yeah.
You know? So I ended up after watching a bunch of your videos, a bunch of his videos, I ended up downloading the Pimsleur Thai course, which is like an audio only thing. Yeah. And by the way, sometimes people ask me how to learn Thai, and I really liked that because I don't like the book stuff as much because I don't know, it's hard to understand like the tones and everything. But when I did the Pimsleur course, it's all audio. So you can really hear how to properly say words, like the tone inflections, things like that.
Yeah.
But for people that ask you, like, I want to start learning Thai, what's the best way to get started? What would you say?
Yeah, I know. So many people ask me that. And in a really strange way, I kind of almost feel like if you're going out of your way to ask that, like, this is going to sound almost mean and a little bit greater than thou, but I think if you're already going out of your way to ask that, then you're kind of in the wrong headspace already. I honestly believe if you want something enough, you will make it happen. I truly believe that. But if there are any practical tips I would give to first-time learners, the first thing is that if you're very serious about it, you have to learn to read and write. You honestly have to learn to read and write because the secrets of the pronunciation are in the reading and writing system.
That's very true because I did the audio only thing first. I did no reading or writing. And although I felt like I had a grasp on it, once I started learning the reading and the writing and I understood what tones are actually in Thai, what sounds, what consonants, what vowels are in Thai, it made it a lot easier to speak and to understand.
For sure. And it means you can become totally immersed in it because you see signs everywhere. You go on social media and there's Thai alphabet everywhere, so you're reading it. So you're constantly learning all the time, as opposed to if you're constantly using Romanized script, it's not correct pronunciation and it will not lead you in the right direction.
I actually, because I took a Thai class here in Bangkok and they often used like the English letter version. Yeah. And I actually think, believe it or not, it's easier to learn to speak Thai if you learn the Thai letters and then you get a grasp on that and then you start learning because it's a very specific sound and you're not trying to turn this English letter into this sound. And
1,000%.
And do you have any suggestions for that about how to learn to read and write?
A few. I think you always get told that there's 44 consonants and like 22 or 20 odd vowels or whatever. The reality is a lot of those 44 consonants you never really use or you never see. They're kind of like dead characters. So you can, if you want to kind of bypass that, there are a few more that are used more often. So don't be too scared about that. And then, I don't know, just repetition. Hey, you just got to chunk it down into small blocks and just go through it. It's just rote learning. Unfortunately, there's not too many secrets to this kind of thing. It just takes hard work.
Practicing.
So I have a little tip for this because I'm a very bad learner, but what I try to do is chunk things down and do a tiny, tiny bit every day.
Exactly.
So I found on YouTube a channel called ThaiPod 101, and they have each lesson is about like 7 or 10 minutes, and they cover like 2 letters, like 2 consonants and a vowel in each lesson. And I would just do one of these every day. Every day, 10 minutes. Every day, 10 minutes. Every morning. And after like a month, 2 months, now all of a sudden I look at the signs. I start to know what they say.
Yeah.
And my girlfriend is shocked. She thought I was cheating.
Yeah.
Because it's very rare, I think, for foreigners here to be able, even if they can speak some Thai, for them to be able to read and write at any kind of competency.
Yeah.
So if you're interested in learning to read or write and it's like intimidating, search on YouTube or Google Thai Pod 101. Do 1 lesson per day for like a month. It's like 10 minutes every morning. I do it. And I guarantee you by the end of the month, you'll be shocked at the progress.
Yeah, it's not as hard as people have made it out to be over the years.
What's up, guys? I just wanted to jump in here really quick because after this episode was filmed, I knew a lot of people would be messaging me on Instagram or leaving a comment down below about what the best ways are to learn Thai in 2025. And so I talked to my friend Chris from Retired Working For You, and I wanted to let you know that he has a new program called the Thai Language Challenge. And what's interesting about this program is it kind of blends the benefits of learning online or through a podcast or at your own pace with the benefits of learning in a classroom environment, which is good because of the structure and the accountability, but oftentimes it can be a little inconvenient because you have to show up to a certain place at a certain time and you're in a group with other people and it might not be the pace that you want to go at. So the Thai Language Challenge is a virtual classroom environment. You can do it at your own pace. It's got structured lessons. It has a real life teacher, Kru Fa, who is very nice, and she makes it very easy and fun to learn. And what's cool is that they have different packages available and they tell you exactly what you'll learn at the end of each package. So if you only want to do the 10 lesson package, you'll be able to describe to taxi drivers where you want to go. You'll be able to count. You'll be able to start a basic conversation with Thai people. But if you want to do the 20 lesson package or the full 100 lesson package, you'll be able to learn so much more. And if you do the 100 lesson package, which you can do at your own pace, by the end of that, you'll be able to have a full 10-minute conversation in Thai. So it's something that I really recommend if you're going to be here for any length of time, whether it's a few months or if you're looking to move here permanently. I think this is a great option if you want to get better at the language and be able to communicate better with the locals. So Thai Language Challenge, I'll leave the link down below. Check it out and let me know what you guys think. All right, let's get back to the chat with Paddy.
I feel like maybe 10 years ago or 20 years, well, 10 years ago when I was first learning Thai, there was none of these resources online, and every foreigner I'd ever met in Thailand was just like, don't even bother. It's too hard. You won't even be able to do it. And I'm really happy that I kind of just ignored that advice and took my own journey, because it's led to some incredible experiences over the years because of being able to understand Thai.
I have a memory from my first week in Bangkok. I met up with this foreigner named Jacob. Shout out to Jacob. I don't know where he is now. I think he's living in Rayong. But he's from Czech Republic, and he had been living here for a few years already. And we were out on the street doing some photography stuff, and we were going to buy some water from a street vendor. And I'll never forget this. He walked up to the cart and he said like, "Ao nam bao song khot krap." Like, can I give me 2 bottles of water? And I thought like, holy shit, how does this guy know how to say this crazy? And I mean, it's like the most basic phrase ever, right?
For sure.
But that blew my mind. And it's another one of those things that I thought, well, if he could do it, I could do it.
Yeah. I mean, it's also crazy that we talk about this as like Australians and Americans as something that's so impressive, because he's Earn here and she speaks perfect English, and you go to Europe and they speak like 2 or 3 languages, and it just so happens that I speak Thai, and it's like this incredible thing that this white guy speaks Thai. Amazing. It's like, it's actually not that impressive. There are so many people around the world who speak different languages.
It is kind of sad when like the Americans are always like, oh, I know how to say 3 words.
Yeah.
Because, and Earn, by the way, when I met her, I almost didn't believe she was Thai because I thought her English was so proficient. I thought she must be like Filipino or something.
Yeah, I mean, she's sitting here on a podcast doing something like this. Like,
also, the people who say like that, are you Filipino or mixed? I said, no, I'm Thai.
Wow. Yeah, it's incredible. Like, I don't think I would be able to sit on a podcast and feel that comfortable doing a whole podcast in Thai, or at least I'd really struggle.
Before we were saying, because I feel like Earn doesn't really have a strong Thai accent when she speaks English. but we were thinking like, oh, maybe she could do the whole podcast in like
In
heavy.
Thai accent?
Yeah, like we were talking about the buffalo.
I can speak English with Thai accent. My buffalo is sick.
Yeah. So so you lived up in the north
Yeah.
for like 10 months, you said.
Yeah.
You learned a lot while you were there. It's
Yep.
kind of cool experience being separated from the rest of civilization at that point.
Really cool as well. And I was also 17 or 18 at the time, and it was my first proper experience overseas, living in a new place, and something as foreign to me as Thailand was just this earth-shattering experience. It was like, what the hell? There is this whole world out here. 17 and 18, just learning the ropes of life, and came in with a pretty naive attitude and pretty fresh, and was just soaking in every experience. And to be honest, I think it wouldn't have mattered what country I would have gone to at that point. It could have been, Thailand, it could have been India, China, parts of Europe, anywhere that was speaking a different language and it had a completely different culture. I probably would have soaked in that country and that culture and that language the same way. I just had this attitude of like, I'm here and I'm hunting new experiences and I'm abroad and I just want to make the most of my time here. So, but I'm so glad it happened to be Thailand.
Why did you choose Thailand?
I didn't really choose it. It was just that my high school at the time had a connection in Thailand. And I lived with his house mother there that allowed me to have all these experiences and had the connections with the schools and whatnot. It was super ad lib and super like rough as guts experience, to be honest. When you think back, it was just on the fly. It wasn't a super organized program at that point or whatever. And so I didn't really choose. It was just completely coincidental.
Okay. And then after that, you went back to Australia.
After that, back to Australia and just did my studies there, went to university. After I finished university in like commerce and IT, I worked at a global consulting firm and I worked there for 4.5 years. And in my first year as a graduate there, I felt that my creativity and my love of language and my love of like meeting new people and culture and all those kinds of things was going to waste a little bit. So on a limb, I just started doing YouTube, and I started a YouTube channel interviewing Thai people in Sydney because there's a huge Thai community in Sydney, Australia. Not thinking that the channel would go anywhere. I was just like, whatever, like I probably will quit this after 2 or 3 months, but there was more success out of it than I ever really expected. And it's been since then almost a 5-year journey on YouTube. So it's pretty awesome.
So you must have thought at some point, or you must have considered maybe moving to Thailand?
Yeah, and I have many times. And even when in that year I met you in 2022, actually, I spent close to 3 months in Thailand. And that was my testers to see if I would like to live and move here. And for a number of different reasons. And I think a lot of people watching would be so confused by why I don't live here. Honestly, it seems just like an obvious thing to do, but it was just a personal decision at the end of the day that I don't know if I wanted to do YouTube potentially full time and live as a digital nomad full time in Thailand. And after the 3 months of living in Bangkok and going all around Thailand during that period, I got kind of fatigued, and I just felt like being able to travel between Australia and between Thailand is probably my preferred option at this stage. And it's still that's still what I've been doing, and I don't really have much of a plan going forward. I just kind of roll with it and see where it goes next. But it's amazing because it means every time I come back to Thailand, it feels like another holiday almost. I get like psyched up again. And by the end of the time here, I'm like, oh, like I've kind of adjusted again. But then I go back and then I come back and I feel like pumped again. I get to like Suvarnabhumi airport and I hear the audio in Thai and I'm like, shit, yeah, this is fucking hectic. Like, and then like after like 30 days or 60 days or whatever, however long I'm here,
I think a lot of people can relate to this, but you know, when you are walking down the jetway to get on the plane to go back to Thailand, there is like, it is the best feeling in the world. Yeah.
When you arrive at Suvarnabhumi and you see like the picture
even
of like
it's me, I'm Thai. I was like, oh, my home.
Yeah, it's awesome.
The food.
Yeah, exactly.
That's waiting for me.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So what's on your itinerary for this trip?
To be honest, I was sick the whole first week, which was really, really annoying.
Yeah, because we were going to do this last week and you messaged me and were like, oh, I'm really sorry, but
I actually came with tourism board, the Sydney office, the tourism board. So I'm actually doing a project with them here. So I'm actually only in Thailand this time for just less than a month total. And then after this, I'm going onwards to Europe, which is kind of a bit of work and a bit of play. I plan on doing some videos over in Europe, and I've been in contact with some like Thai communities and Thai diasporas over in parts of Europe, which I think would be a really cool thing to do a few stories over there. I mean, I started doing it in Sydney, and I've done a lot of my channel in Sydney, and something I really find interesting is kind of like the migrant journey and the stories that you hear from people who've moved abroad, and especially Thai people. They work so hard, they're so entrepreneurial, they're so good with business. So there's so many people, different people that I've been able to find in Australia who have really, really neat stories. Similar like foreigners coming over to Thailand and doing cool stuff. There is that exact same thing the other way around. And I've found a real passion in kind of chasing those stories and meeting those people, because I think you often don't hear about them. So I really like doing those kind of things.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Where are you going in Europe this time?
I'm landing in Barcelona, and I'm just having a bit of fun in Barcelona and Portugal for a bit, but then I'm spending a fair bit of time in London, Germany, and Denmark. But we'll see. I've got a pretty open itinerary.
Wow, that's a lot of traveling.
Yeah, there's a lot of traveling, and I don't know how I'll go with it, but I've also got a lot of friends over in Europe that I'll be staying with and hanging out with a lot. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not working at the moment. I'm just doing YouTube. I quit my full-time job last year after just 4.5 years of working in a corporate consulting company. I just felt like, let's go off and just do YouTube full-time for a bit and give it a go, and not too much put too much pressure on it, but just enjoy the journey.
Because like you kind of alluded to before, doing the YouTube thing is not easy. And
No.
it can definitely be a blessing and a curse.
Yes.
Because although you might not be restricted by like a desk job,
Yeah.
there is a lot of pressure to put stuff out,
For
to
sure.
perform well, and then
Yeah.
it might not become enjoyable anymore.
Yeah, and that's what I've found, to be honest. I actually have found in many ways, as soon as I've had to try and monetize YouTube, there are really some fun aspects of that, and there's some fun business aspects of that. But suddenly when you combine those two aspects of like art and creativity, and then having to make money and having to produce YouTube videos all the time, it actually becomes pretty tiring. And sometimes it took the fun out of it for me in some ways. And that's ultimately at the end of the day why I decided to kind of live between Australia and Thailand, because for
Balance.
me, yeah, well, like money first of all, and stability of work. And sometimes when I'm going back, so I'll do a bit of contracting, IT contracting work when I'm back in Australia, and balance the YouTube with that. And yeah, I don't know, I still like have my closest friends and family and stuff in Australia, which keeps me pretty grounded and stuff. And sometimes when you're here in Bangkok and you're doing YouTube and you're meeting up with people who do content and in this world all the time, it's like this pretty what's the word? You'd almost call it like a bit of a bubble in some ways, and you're constantly having to think about doing YouTube videos all the time and doing that, and it's not 100% me as a personality all the time doing that kind of thing. So I actually kind of like having the balance of being able to live between the two and float between the two places and have a bit more freedom. A lot of people might not see it that way, but that's just how I've come to the conclusion.
Yeah. I'm kind of smiling when you're explaining that, because I was at like a YouTuber event a few weeks ago with TimeKettle. You know this company, TimeKettle?
Yeah, the one who do instant translation.
They make like a translation device.
Yeah.
And honestly, when I first saw it, I was kind of skeptical. 'Cause I'm like, why would you buy this if you can use Google Translate? The device is amazing. Like I was shocked at how you just speak into it and then it spits out whatever on the other side, and it also has like the writing on the screen. Very helpful, I think, if you're like brand new to a country. This isn't sponsored, by the way, but it was very, very helpful if you are brand new to a country and you have no idea how to speak the language, or if you even want to get better at the language. Because for me, sometimes even here in Thailand, like I have a situation where I want to say something and I know like part of what I need to say, but not everything.
Yeah.
And if I had this device, maybe it could help me fill in the holes I have in my language game. Because I'm not always with a Thai person to ask them like,
how do you say this? Yeah.
So,
and as soon as to be honest, it's interesting. Hey, like the topic of language learning and learning Thai in Thailand is a really interesting one for me, because like I don't like coming at it from a greater than thou perspective, or this like superiority complex of being, I speak Thai, blah, blah, blah. It's not really like that, but I get shocked because being able to not speak Thai and living here for such a long period of time definitely restricts your movement and the places you can go here like freely, and being able to get around really easily. Like to me, I was in like Korea last year for travel for a week, for 2 weeks, and and just straight away, like getting out a little bit outside the city or in places where people don't speak English that well and feeling like really restricted, really frustrated me. It felt like a lack of autonomy. And if I was doing that and living like that in Thailand for such a long period of time and having to always go through those experiences, not like a tourist, but as someone, as a resident who lives here, I think that would really frustrate me after a while. But I guess if you never kind of make the first steps to try and learn in the first place, then you can kind of get away with an ignorance is bliss attitude, which I think a lot of people resign themselves to, which is like, okay. But like I kind of, the whole point of my channel is really to try and promote people wanting to learn Thai, and it's not as hard as it's made out to be sometimes.
Yeah, and I think it opens a lot of doors and a lot
So
of
many doors.
situations that you might not even like. Just a quick example, like
Yeah.
here in Bangkok, they used to do this a lot. Police checkpoints,
Mm.
they used to do this all the time, every
Yeah.
night. I don't see it so much anymore. But what they'll do is they set up a checkpoint on like Sukhumvit Road,
Mm.
and if they see a foreigner in a taxi,
Oh.
they'll tell the taxi to pull over.
Yeah.
And then they pull the foreigners out. They ask them all these questions. They search your pockets. And, you know, if you can speak even a basic level of Thai to them and show them like,
Yeah.
one, that it's not your first day here.
Yeah.
And two, that you kind of respect their culture. And,
Yes.
you know, even if you can just say, oh, Swadee Kap,
Yeah.
Kon,
Yeah.
America.
Yeah, yeah.
They
just-
say, how long
okay.
have you been here? Oh, you tini ma, happy lao.
Yeah,
like whatever.
yeah.
They always start laughing and looking at each other and they go, okay, you
Yeah.
can leave. You know,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
so that's just, you know, a simple thing. Or like even in your case, you did a video taking taxis in Bangkok.
Yeah.
And taxis have a very not so great reputation here.
Yeah.
Because they tend to, you know, try to get more.
They
than
try
what
and
they
take the
need to.
piss out of foreigners
Yeah.
for sure.
But what I've noticed is if someone like you, or even me, not that I'm anywhere near your level, but even someone like me, if they can get in and just speak Thai to them, say basic things, be polite to them,
Yeah.
there is a way higher chance they will just, oh yeah, whatever, meet her. Oh, they're happy to talk to you. Like it's a whole different experience.
Yeah, I mean, I so rarely, I don't know, it'd be interesting to hear what you think, and I so rarely have issues with taxi drivers putting on the meter. They always do it. It's like not even, as soon as I just say exactly where I want to go, I don't even really ask them usually. They just straight away, it's an assumption. So I don't know, they seem to have a bad reputation. Even amongst my Thai friends, they all say like the taxi drivers are scammers and stuff, but I don't think they're as bad as it's made out to be online and stuff like that. I don't know.
Well, I think it depends, one, where
Which
the
area?
location you're in.
Sure.
And two, I mean, if you're a foreigner and you're just communicating in English or something, I think that is you're a prime target.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and I guess fair game to them in a way.
Yeah.
But I was coming home at 1:30 a.m. last night. Like, it wasn't a big night or anything. I wasn't drinking or anything, but I just happened to be back late, and I straight away got in the taxi, and I was thinking like, he might take the piss here a little bit, but he didn't at all. I just got in, and it was easy as that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
So, but I think a lot of things are like that here. Like it's almost, I don't want to make it sound negative, but if you can't speak any Thai, it's almost like you're a second-class citizen here. It's like you don't get quite the same treatment as everyone else.
Yeah, I think there's elements of that, but there also has been, I mean, there's statistics around this with, I think foreigners who don't speak Thai on average earn more, and so people use these statistics to.
But it's just like
Really?
for Thai
Yeah,
people, it's like
I never heard that.
Yeah.
If you guys speak like a little bit of Thai, for Thai people, like, oh, you're so cute,
Yeah.
and then like treat you better or even give you discount if you can speak a little bit of Thai.
Yeah.
But for Thai girls, if it comes to dating thing, and then if you speak Thai,
Yeah.
Thai girls may be like, okay, you learn from who?
Yeah, so
It's gonna be something like
let's
this.
talk about this for a second.
Go for
I
it.
wanted to
Yeah.
ask you about this.
Yeah,
go
for
So
it.
one question that comes up, or I get sometimes, is like, do you think that speaking Thai helps with dating life in Thailand? Do you have any experience with this?
To be honest, like, yeah, people want to hear the juicy stuff here, but I'm pretty tame with this kind of topic. I don't date that much when I'm in Bangkok, to be honest, purely because I'm here for like a month or 2 months usually, and if I go out and go on dates or whatever, then it's like, well, I'm fucking off in 2 months anyway. So I don't usually I don't like to lead people on too much in that scenario, but I feel like when I go out to venues or places and start speaking with people, building a rapport is a lot easier with women.
For sure.
For sure. But I I'm not this guy going out on the prowl all the time. I'm actually like, I'm pretty tame most of the time, so I don't really go out that much. Yeah, but I think on the whole it has to help, surely, right?
Well, it helps in some ways and hurts in others. So,
yeah, but it depends on the type of people you're also looking for,
True.
right? Like, I think so more internationalized Thais and people who speak English, maybe they might not. I don't know. Like, Ern probably has more of a better impact.
I think, and Ern, tell me what you think about this. So what I've experienced is, if a girl can see that you can speak any level of competency in Thai, there's like a little warning flag that goes off, because she knows you either have already had a number of Thai girlfriends that probably taught you, or because you can speak Thai, now you have access to so many other people that you can be risky.
Wow.
Ern, what do you think about that?
For me, I'm pretty sure like 90% that you learn from girls.
Yeah.
Like, or if you say something more like natural, like
Gaban kapom, mai.
yeah.
Gabang gapom.
Or if you say something like เท่าไหร่ครับ like not like ราคาเท่าไหร่ not like too formal.
Yeah.
If you can speak more like local people, I would say that okay, you might learn from local people, but I think the best way for them to learn Thai is from dating with Thai girls. So I assume, or most of the Thai girls assume that okay, you might have many Thai girlfriends before.
Personally, I've learned probably 1% of my Thai knowledge from Thai girls.
Yeah, right.
But that's always the thing. Anyone I meet, if they hear me say something and tell the taxi directions, they always make this assumption that it was like a Thai girl that taught me. And that's not true.
Yeah.
For some.
Well, I guess I hope I'm breaking the stereotype then. Because, I guess you don't have to learn via having a Thai girlfriend. There are other ways to be able to learn Thai.
But I have another friend here that's been here for 10 years and speaks like very good Thai. Like I would say similar level to you. Very good. And I know you said you don't date a lot.
Well, I date, but I don't like go on formal enough dates to be like, this is my track record. Yeah.
Oh,
like,
well,
you know
I was going to say, he's around a lot.
Yeah.
And I think that he is the example of what the Thai women are afraid of.
Yeah.
Because so many doors are open. He knows everybody. He could go to like any bar in, where in downtown Bangkok, and he's probably going to run into someone he knows. And I think that a lot of Thai women don't appreciate that.
Yeah. I mean, that's an interesting insight. I've never even thought about that.
Meet Thai people, and then you seem like you know them for so long. I was like, okay, what's that?
Yeah. I mean, you also don't want to turn into one of those foreign dudes who thinks they're the king because they speak Thai and they're rolling around and they're like acting like they're the shit and stuff like that and flirting with girls and stuff like that.
I don't even know people. Do you know many foreigners that speak very, very good Thai?
No, like, yeah, but they're all a bit older. Most of them I know are like 50 or 60 and they've been here for 30 years and they're like ajans and stuff like that.
I think that's why people is like surprised when they see like Paddy speak Thai, because he's like young and like young Farang, and then you can speak Thai well, because mostly I've seen just only like pretty old and then they can speak Thai because they'll be living here for so long.
Yeah. There are some amazing Thai speakers. Like if you ever see a guy, Stuart J. Raj, he's on YouTube. He's like the king of the Thai language. He's like one of my linguistic heroes. He's amazing. He understands all the different linguistic roots of the Thai language and where it comes from this and that, and how you have to use your mouth structures and different vocal chords to make this tone and that. It's insane. There's some absolute gun speakers out there.
What's his name?
His name's Stuart J. Raj. Yeah. I would recommend anyone who's actually seriously considering learning the Thai language to look him up and look at some of his videos, because he goes into some serious detail. Like, it's almost too much detail sometimes, but that's the nature of it if you want to get to a certain level.
Okay.
But yeah.
Where have you traveled in Thailand? Like, I'm sure you've been to, the basic places, Phuket.
Yeah.
Maybe obviously Chiang Mai. But where have you been that's lesser known places that you think would be really cool for someone to explore?
That's a pretty good question. To be honest, one I mean, this isn't hardly a hidden gem, but like what do I say?
So a lot of
That's a hard question, because I spent most of my time in Chiang Mai and Chiang Rai, and when I was there, I wasn't really a tourist, and I'm not really good with the touristy stuff. So whenever people ask me stuff, I actually know a fair few good things in Bangkok. Like, if someone comes here as a first-time tourist, I'm always like, go to like Bang Krachao or something like that.
We were
like,
just talking about that.
I'm like, that's such a really cool first-time experience. You can get like a local insight and that kind of thing.
Explain what Bang Krachao is, because you did a video on it we watched, and I also have been there. Can you explain what it is?
And it's probably whenever someone asks me and they're a first-time tourist in Bangkok, where should I go that's a little bit different, that's a bit off the beaten track, but still is good enough for first-time tourists to be able to explore? I always say to go to Bang Krachao, which is the Green Lung, which is an area, I think it's a man-made island, to be honest, but it's one of the only green spots where all this foliage is in Bangkok. And you take a little boat across the Chao Phraya River if you're living on this side of the river. And you can just like hire a bicycle and ride around.
Yeah,
and
they have these like old school bikes.
Oh, it's so beautiful. My dad was actually visiting Bangkok last weekend. He happened to be here, and I was like, let's go there. And I took him there, and he's usually a guy who kind of stays in the city, in these big cities, and he does a lot for work and stuff. And I was like, let's go into a bit more like a local place, local community, and it's still very, very accessible to tourists.
And they have a cool market there, right?
Yeah. Bang Nam Phung. Oh,
Yeah.
which is awesome. But I wish I had a better answer for
What
you,
about
Eric.
outside of Bangkok? Like, have you been to Isan, or have you been
Never been to Isan.
Like more central?
Never been to Central Thailand. I've spent most of my time up north, like Mae Hong Son. I've spent a lot of time in. I've spent a lot of time in Chiang Rai, Chiang Mai, Lampang.
Mae Hong Son, 2 years ago, actually, it might have been shortly before I met you, I went on a motorcycle trip with a friend. Actually, the same friend from before, Jacob, the one that ordered the 2 bottles of water. We did the Mae Hong Son Loop. Which is a driving route through northern Thailand. And you basically start at Chiang Mai and you go all the way around towards the border of Myanmar. And back through Bai. Is it?
Yep.
Bai? Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
Not Pai.
Not Pai.
Bai.
Okay. See, I'm learning. And then back to Chiang Mai. And I have to say, this was one of the greatest experiences of my life. Because not only was the driving aspect of it cool, out in nature and the mountains and like completely undisturbed areas of the country, but the people you run into out there, there's no foreigners. And to have those experiences where you meet these local people and you just see what their life is like in some of these small towns, it's like the middle of nowhere, and it's just very cool to see how local people live.
It's crazy how different it is to Bangkok. They're literally 2 different countries. You go to these places, and especially up in those areas, there's a lot of like ethnic minority groups and people who have been like living almost nomadically for hundreds of years. And it just so happens that the borders of countries that were almost arbitrarily made up or whatever have meant that they've landed in Thailand, but they have completely different cultures, completely different languages, but they have like Thai residents and they're comparable to people in Bangkok somehow.
If you don't know the geography well, northern Thailand is up against Myanmar, Laos, right?
Myanmar, Laos, the Golden Triangle, right?
Yeah, and then but even China's not that far away.
Yeah, no, it's not far.
And then to the southeast, Cambodia is there. So there's a lot of countries that kind of intersect in this area.
Yeah, and they've kind of changed borders a fair bit over the years. I'm not 100% sure of the history, but I know there's been a lot of change. Probably the most crazy place I've ever been to, which is not something I would recommend to tourists, and I actually filmed this video. It was about 2 years ago. I at the Golden Triangle, I went over the border into Laos, where a Chinese lease of 99-year lease has been put on the country there to build all these casinos up. And I went into this place, and it was honestly the oddest vibe I've ever been into a place. I went into this casino. I ended up gambling in this casino, which I look back on, I'm like, that's weird. But then I looked up after about this region, and it's like, obviously the Golden Triangle, it's got this reputation, but it's like known for all the human trafficking, drug trafficking, animal trafficking, forced prostitution, all this kind of stuff. And I'd been there with 2 of my Thai girlfriends who were there, and I was like, fuck, like these places are like, that was pretty wild. And even at the time, like, I mean, people might be like, nah, but it was the vibe, the atmosphere was so bizarre. Obviously not something I'd recommend to tourists, but I had to do it to extend my visa. I ended up in this place which would look like a mini China.
That's how you did a visa run?
Oh my god!
It was like went across on this little boat across.
Yeah.
Family and
that's
Tongkam.
crazy.
Yeah.
Have you been to other Southeast Asian countries like Cambodia, Vietnam?
Yeah, I've spent a bit of time in Vietnam. Parents used to live in Singapore, so I spent a little bit of time in Singapore, but that's kind of just like big city
What's
vibe.
like your like quick impression of Cambodia or Vietnam compared to Thailand?
Never been to Cambodia, to be honest. Vietnam, I think, obviously the culture has more influences of China, whereas Thailand has probably more of a combination of like Indian like culture and Chinese culture combined, depending on what region of the place you're in. Thai people are probably a bit softer, I would say, on the whole than Vietnamese. I would say a bit more gentle, especially like people who come from areas like Isan and stuff like that are very soft, very gentle, and that's probably some of the main differences. But it's hard. I mean, you can break this stuff down, and I mean, you can stereotype these countries as well. I think people like to stereotype these countries and be like Thailand's like this, and like Vietnam's like this, and Japan's like this, or whatever. But the reality is, they're just like any other country, and people are different. People have different personalities. And once you do, going back to like the point of learning languages, once you do learn the local language and do start to meet different people, you realize this a lot more because they're more natural and they're speaking their natural tongue. And you're realizing that these people, just like in America and just like in Australia, have all different personalities, all different opinions, all different perspectives, and trying to like put them into the same box of a country of 70 million people is completely ridiculous.
Yeah, like Erin she did like a 2-month study work program in America. And I asked, where did you study and work in America? And she said, Las Vegas. And I was like, wait, so your impression of America is Las Vegas? Like that's like people coming to Thailand and they go to Pattaya.
Exactly.
Which, by the way, since we're on the topic,
Yeah.
Paddy, can you please tell me, what is the proper way to say the name of Pattaya?
Pattaya.
Pattaya.
Okay. There's a
Pattaya.
lot of
Perfect.
argument over this. A lot of argument, like 2 million or 1 million views on Instagram about how to say
Pattaya.
Yeah.
Wait, let me give you one more. Ready? The island with the full moon party. Koh
Koh Phangan. No?
Yeah.
How do you say it?
Koh Phangan.
Koh Phangan.
Koh
You.
Phangan.
Koh Phangan.
Koh Phangan.
I think it's hard to say ngongu.
Koh Phangan.
Because your letter in English.
Yeah.
I always say like say like thingu, and then start like and to say use thing and say how you would pronounce thing, and then just add like an oo after, but then just try and isolate that sound at the end. Thingu, and then ngu means snake, right? Ngu. Yeah.
Koh Phangan.
I think it's the hardest
Koh
one,
Phangan.
like to say ngongu for Farang. It's really hard.
Yeah.
But
Ngu.
this is a great example because I know the letter. I know the letter. If I see this in writing and I know this letter is this sound, even if I can't say it, I know it exists. So that's why if you're trying to learn Thai,
Practice.
learn the basic alphabet. It's going to help a lot.
Pattaya.
I've been here 5 years. First 4.5 years, I never been there because, I just heard.
Has a reputation, right? Yeah.
But it was kind of weird to me because I would see Thai people like say, we're going to Pattaya for the weekend or whatever. And I thought that was kind of weird. But I guess a lot of Thai people like it there for like a beach town or just chill. Doesn't mean they're going to Walking Street. I mean, Ern went to Walking Street to party.
But Pattaya also has like, Jom Tien Beach.
That's what I mean.
Like it doesn't have to be Walking Street Pattaya. Or there's also some hidden beach which is sell like sashimi squid thing, and like it's really peaceful, not that many farang.
I do think it's a cool spot to just go if you can ignore some of the other stuff.
Sure.
Just get on a motorbike and drive around. The food is good. Everything is much less expensive than Bangkok. It's got that like
and I don't like talking shit if I haven't been to a place, to be honest. But I like Patong. I went to like Phuket. Patong is not my style. Like even to be honest, a lot of parts of Sukhumvit. Like I made a video recently about like 12 things I hate about Thailand, which was like controversial.
Give me some of them.
Well, like one of them was like Lower Sukhumvit. Like
so I
honestly cannot stand like just walking through like
do you mean like
area.
Here, or
no, this area. I'm more like
this is
lower.
Ekamai.
Yeah, the Ekamai is this up this area is better. But like even like Asok, all those areas, I don't know. I go there and I just don't like it. I know Asok is like more shopping and that kind of thing.
That's
just not for me. Exactly. And I don't like acting like that, but it's just my thing. But I made a video that got a bit of
People didn't like it.
No, most people actually like. I've
Yeah.
received pretty favorable reception on the most part. To be honest.
I think though, if you went to Pattaya
Yeah.
with a friend for a weekend,
Yeah.
I bet you would like it.
Yeah.
Because you would get there and realize like, oh, it's this whole other thing as well that you don't really hear about. It's just you have to ignore some things.
Yeah,
Like
for
there's a lot of, I was going to go into this, but then my friend's going to yell at me. There's certain types of people that frequent Pattaya.
Yeah.
And, I don't know. You can learn to
block it out.
block them out.
Sure.
But it is a cool place besides that.
It's something I've really actually in a really weird way had to get used to a little bit going to these places, especially like now doing YouTube a bit more, and I end up going to these more spaces that attract foreigners and tourists before, because back in the day when I was living here originally, I was just living in the middle of nowhere, and that was my first initial understanding of Thailand. So trying to get used to the other thing has actually taken a bit of adjustment for me in a really strange way.
Wait, can you explain that? What was your initial impression?
Well,
of
like
Thailand?
I was living in literally in the middle of.
So you kind of did it reverse from
I
a lot
did
of people.
Yeah, exactly. So I didn't go to Bangkok or anything like that. I didn't go to any of these places, and I just landed in this like random place in the middle of nowhere where there were no foreigners and no one was like it wasn't an international place in a cosmopolitan city or anything like that. And I wasn't going to tourist areas, and I learned pretty quickly on that I actually liked that a lot more, being able to like hang out with locals and go to these different places and all that kind of stuff, and trying to have to learn the opposite by, especially through doing YouTube and meeting up with different people and getting in more international crowds. I've had to like, it kind of sounds weird, but it's something I've had to almost adjust to. So like if you told me back in the day, like you have to go to Pattaya, I'd be like, oh no, I do not want to go.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it's the greatest place in Thailand or anything, but I'm just saying like for a weekend as like a chill beach town, I think you would enjoy it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Do you get a lot of people commenting on your videos or writing you messages trying to tell you like what Thai people are or what Thailand is? They're trying to tell you, oh, what you said is not true. It's really this girl with her sick buffalo, or do you get those messages?
Yeah, all the time. All the time.
I mean, I'm like,
everyone wants to be an expert on Thailand.
Yeah, but the thing I've been talking to Ern about this recently, because obviously we get a lot of comments about all kinds of different things. I think when people send like very strong comments like that, it's kind of closed-minded, but it also shows what experiences they have. And I think the problem is those people have had a very small set of experiences for whatever reason, probably some of them negative. And they think that's Thailand.
Exactly. Yeah.
And they will not believe that there's this whole other side that they've never experienced.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think I would, just like you said, I would encourage everyone to get off the main tourist areas the Phuket, the Bangkok, the Pattaya. Go out into the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, for sure. I 100% recommend that if you have enough time and you got some energy exploring parts of like, it's a pretty obvious thing. It's not, but a lot of people come here and they'll just kind of stick to the main tourist track. But if you even just get off the road a little bit and just try and communicate, you don't have to know Thai or anything, just going out and just trying to communicate with people and using sign language and stuff, and just seeing how there's so many kind people in this country.
Yeah,
there really are.
And again, not sponsored, but if you got one of those TimeKettle devices,
exactly,
and you went out into the middle of nowhere, Thailand, and just use that to help you through. Yeah, because I feel like I say that because I feel like that's a barrier for some people. They want to go explore some of these places, but in a lot of these rural places, maybe English isn't very common.
It actually is really scary, to be honest. If you're a tourist here and a foreigner, and you even go to some like local areas around here, and there's like a restaurant that looks kind of good, like the food looks good, but the signs are all in Thai, and everyone's speaking Thai. For a first-time tourist here, that is super scary, to be honest. It's scary, and you don't know what's on the menu, but you're looking at something and it looks good, but you don't know how to approach it, and there's like Thai people just there sitting next to each other and speaking. But a lot of those things are the gems of this country, but it's really hard to access it, which is another reason why you should try and learn Thai for a bit.
A little bit at a time.
So learn Thai, everybody.
So what do you have left in your trip here? Much longer are you staying?
I stay here for another 10 days.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And what do you have planned?
To be honest, not much of a plan, really. Like, I've actually done most of the filming that I needed to do for the tourism, the Sydney office, Thailand Tourism Board. And for the rest of the trip, I'm just hoping to catch up with as many people as possible, explore, do whatever, and just hang out. So, yeah.
And I saw on Instagram yesterday, you're with Paul Lee, who was here a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
So he's an American that came over to Thailand.
Yes,
maybe
yes.
a few years ago, not that long ago.
Yeah, 3 years ago, 4 years ago. I'm not sure. Yeah.
Yeah. It's weird
Yeah.
how we all meet. Like,
yeah, it's really nice to be honest. And you kind of meet people and you kind of gel with some people and you don't gel with others, but you kind of understand each other's journey. It's really nice to have other friends who are kind of in the same world doing the same thing, understand the challenges of it, understand the positives of it, and you can relate to each other. It's really nice to be honest. But Thailand in particular has an exceptionally large number of content creators.
A wide cast of characters. Yeah.
And wide cast of characters, which is what makes it an interesting
I
place
think a
to
lot
be.
of people come here not planning to be a content creator. And
Yeah.
then they just fall into it.
They end up doing it.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's just like Thai people love to watch, like, you know, foreigners, what they think about Thailand.
Yes.
And that's the reason. I also like to watch that kind of stuff too.
Yeah. For sure. Makes sense.
You know, I first moved to I came on 2 holiday trips here,
Mm.
but my initial idea was to come to Thailand for 30 days.
Mm.
And I was going to do this series called like 30 Days Away, 30 days living in a different country at a time, and make
Yeah.
like a thing out of it. I came to Thailand and then I loved it so much, I just stayed.
Wow.
So that went out the window that idea.
Yeah. It's a pretty. I think the thing about Thailand, which is the reason why it does attract so many different characters from all across the spectrum, is that like Thai people are extremely accommodating, like in a way. They're very malleable to other people, and they're very easygoing, and that can mean that some people can exploit the hospitality, and you do see elements of that, but it means that people feel like they can kind of be themselves here. I think there is definitely an element of that, and that's why there's such a diverse amount of characters here, both expats and whoever else, digital nomads and whatever.
Well, I know for sure a lot of people love watching you because you are clearly very passionate about Thailand and the culture here and the people.
Yeah.
If people want to find you online, where can they find you?
So yeah, the main source is my YouTube channel, Thai Talk with Paddy. I also have an Instagram, Thai Talk Paddy. Yeah, I've been doing YouTube for a while now. It's been a 5-year journey, so we'll see how much longer I hang in there, but I'll see how I go. Thanks for having me on, Eric.
Thank you for coming. I'm glad we could catch up again.
Yeah.
And maybe the next time you come, whenever that is, maybe we can host like a little event or something.
That'd be awesome. It's awesome. And thank you, Ern. It's really nice. Sorry, I feel like I should let Ern speak a little bit more. I just hold
Trust me, everybody's
It's
gonna
your
yell
episode.
Wait, listen. Everybody's gonna yell at me in the comments about that, so you don't worry.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for watching. If you want to see more of what's happening here in Bangkok, if you want to learn to speak Thai better, if you want to go to Pattaya with Paddy,
Yeah, we're doing
Let's
it. We're hosting a road trip.
hit the subscribe button, drop a comment below, and we will see you in the next one.
ขอบคุณครับ
ขอบคุณค่ะ